Hello and welcome. This is the Goal is AFL podcast with myself, with Caleb up here, and we are going to chat about the three takes. Damn it, it's getting worse.
God damn it.
Okay.
Classic.
Hello and welcome. This is the Goal is AFL podcast with myself, with Caleb up here, and we are going to be chatting about the last round of football for 2025 in the regular home and away season. What a year it was. It was pretty crazy. The Lions, from the top, basically got it done in a somewhat roundabout way. Highlights as well. Collingwood got it done. Some of the other teams above us, Geelong, Adelaide, all got it done. And we've still got an undecided top 8, even though the round has kind of, sort of, not really finished. So we'll talk about that. But Caleb, how did you experience the football this season? Not just this season, this round.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, it's going to be interesting to see if the Suns can make their home first final series. They should have got the job done against Port Adelaide. I think that's inexcusable, the way that they lost that game. Mm-hmm. But Ken Hinkley, Travis Boak, getting the send-offs they deserved. Yes,
there was definitely some controversy around that game, but we will talk a little bit more about the game that happened on Thursday. Two teams that had pretty much an irrelevant season in terms of top 8. Carlton, Essendon. Essendon haven't won since May, so they're on like a 10-game losing streak, and they've still got to play one more game, which is fun for them. Carlton get to go on a Mad Monday, and Essendon do not. But yeah, we're going to pretty much skip over this game because of how kind of irrelevant it was in terms of the top 8. But they had 2 games on Friday night, which was, first one was Collingwood versus Melbourne, which was a pretty good game actually. The Pies actually had a little bit of a scare. Melbourne had a somewhat of a lead, and then Collingwood just eventually brushed them aside and solidified their spot in the top 3, despite losing 5 of their last 6 games. So winning 2 out of their last 7, which is pretty crazy.
Not a great run-in.
Yeah, not a great run-in, and they've now got to go to Adelaide and play the Crows in a qualifying final, which is basically a rematch of the great game that we had 2 weeks ago. So did you see this one? I know there was 2 games, but which one of these 2 games did you see?
I had my eye keenly set on the Gold Coast Port Adelaide game, and I sort of was able to sprinkle my attention on this game sporadically, mostly first quarter and fourth quarter. But I was going to say, Collingwood have a reputation for being able to just bulldoze opponents in the fourth quarter and just run all over them and continuously kick 6-pointers to get the job done in the dying stages. And I feel like they very much so were able to harness that energy once again against the Demons. I was really hoping that they could get the job done because I hate Collingwood. No one likes them, and we wanted them to potentially miss the 8, which would have been hilarious. But you got to give credit to them. They've got so many players, which we've talked about at length this season, that have so much experience, not just in as an AFL player, but just in these tight, high pressure moments that are leading into final series. And I think it puts them in really good stead, considering they've got Craig McRae, who's been there, done it. They know what it takes to win a premiership. Last season, they had a lot of things not go their way. And I feel like this year has been a bit of a seesaw situation in terms of a really good start, and then it's just slowly gone the other way. And I feel Melbourne have just been one of those teams that have been a little bit of an annoyance for some of the top teams, but have never been able to actually get the job done. Yeah. I've spoken many times about what I think about Melbourne, so I won't say too much more, but the Magpies, they are in the 8. They will be a contender, and I hate to be saying that.
Yeah. Obviously, still in the top 4, you're still going to be a contender, but I think no one's really thinking that they're going to be a serious threat. Melbourne, losing their coach. So, kind of just playing for some sort of stability for next year. But, yeah, man, this was... I was really hoping Melbourne would get it. It would be pretty funny if Collingwood dropped out of the top 4. There was even talk of, they could drop out of the top 8. I think last week's win... kind of solidified that for them. But the other game, which we will kind of chat a little bit more about, was the Port Adelaide Magpies. That's their Sandful team. The Port Adelaide Power versus the Gold Coast Suns. The Suns had a chance to get the automatic, in for the 8, and they squandered it. Absolutely squandered it. They totally threw it away. Ken Hinkley, last game. Travis Boak, last game. Two legends of the club. Ken Hinkley has the most amount of games coached for Port Adelaide, and now he is gone. Somewhat amicably, I'd say. He definitely got a lot of, positive feedback in this game, but I think we knew it was time. Travis Boak, great legend of the game, all Australian. He's been awesome, but man, they really pulled it together. And what did you kind of think of the overall game, including the send off and the Suns basically, crapping the bed?
A lot of pressure has been mounted on the shoulders of Damien Hardwick and this young Suns. But I think if they are going to prove themselves at the top end of the competition, these are the sort of games they have to be winning.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable. Port Adelaide, nothing to play for besides the fact that they were, aroused basically to send off two, icons of their club. And they really were motivated to get the job done. And I would personally, watching the game, I wanted the Suns to win because as much as I don't have much of an affiliation for the Suns, I just want to see a good storyline with them, and I want to see them make finals. But whilst I was sort of supporting them in the dying stages, once the full-time siren sounded, and just seeing all of Adelaide Oval, the black and blue army, just sort of be so satisfied and happy, and then seeing Ken Hinkley in his post-match interview just be so proud in a bittersweet kind of way, and just the post-match dressing room, celebrations, if you can call them that. It really did, I think, emotionally impact me in a way that I didn't expect, because I don't really care much for Port Adelaide, but I feel it was actually a better result for them than it was for Gold Coast. I think if Gold Coast did win this game away from home, it would have been just like, yay, they made the top 8. Whereas Whereas Port Adelaide now have a nice, satisfying ending for those two guys and their season. Whereas Gold Coast still have another game to play where they can still wrap up that loose end. So I think from a Port Adelaide perspective, you can walk away from this season being like, yes, it wasn't good enough. The previous year to that, we made it to a prelim final, and then we've had a massive drop-off, which is just unacceptable for any professional club, in my opinion. But you got to take the positives when they come. They were absolutely motivated to get the job done. They played some really decent footy. Gold Coast made a lot of mistakes. They looked nervy, and that doesn't bode well going into a finals campaign.
Yeah, I think the biggest winner out of this would probably be the broadcasters, who now have Wednesday night's game actually meaning something. I think if Gold Coast had won this game, that game would have just been a complete write-off. Only chatting about, where the teams are going to line up. And it probably would have been really annoying for the fixturing, because the Gold Coast probably could have jumped into the top 4, whereas now the top 4 is already decided. So, So I think that this game, the result made it very happy for the broadcasters. Sad for the Suns fan, but I'm definitely not with you where I'm like, I want the Suns to make the finals. I'd absolutely laugh my head off if the Suns missed the finals after being
love for the expansion teams.
That's not true. I like GWS.
Yeah, see, we have the complete opposite opinions then, because I hate GWS and I don't mind the Suns. So,
well, they still have one more chance, so we can. I guess we'll watch on Wednesday night, which it's going to be pretty weird actually watching a game on Wednesday night. It's going to be like, hang on, what are we doing here? Because usually it's a bit more of a, maybe watch some movies or something. But no, there'll be a footy game on, which would be kind of weird. We did have some other games happening on Saturday, which was the North versus Adelaide game. Adelaide wrapped up the minor premiership. They got the win. Kind of were in cruise control the whole time. Another game that happened was Richmond, who finished out the season with 5 wins, which is a lot more than what people thought they were going to end up with. Geelong getting the W, being pretty strong in this one. Really no doubt in any of these results. Overall thoughts about the Cats and the Crows and their season, how they finished up?
Oh man, I was thinking coming into this finals campaign, who do I really want Brisbane to verse in the first round? And Geelong was dead last on that list. So
it's a bit of a danger game.
I have always been fearful of Geelong. I have so much respect for them as an organisation and their consistency over the years at operating at the highest level. So every time I verse the Cats, I'm worried. In saying that, there's 2 big things that work in the favor of the Brisbane Lions in the
Mm.
sense that last time we versed them at GMHBA, we smashed them
We did.
and looked far superior. And the second thing is Richmond Tigers. The week before that, they had Sydney. The week before that, they had Essendon. And the week before that, they had Port Adelaide. So all those teams are very easy, very lightweight, aren't
Yeah.
up to the aggressive, high intensity standard of a top 8 team,
Yeah.
right? So from a Geelong perspective, I remember Chris Scott mentioning this last season when we versed him in the prelim, and he mentioned about the preparation and run-in to that particular game. And he said that we didn't have the opportunity to be consistently operating at a 10 out of 10 high intensity rate. And that is exactly what's happened with Geelong. This game against Richmond, who have nothing to play for, easy game. They now have a week off and they're going to come up against Brisbane at the MCG, who have just come off a game against Hawthorn at a super high intensity. So Brisbane, in terms of match fitness and match sharpness, is ready to go for finals. Geelong, I don't know. They could not be quite up to what is required of finals football. So those two things, I think, work in the Lions' favour. In saying that, Jeremy Cameron, so good. They've got midfielders galore that are all operating at such a high level. So, look, I predicted Geelong to finish top of the table. They have finished second. So
Close.
it's
Yeah.
not outside of what I expected from them this season. And it'll be super exciting watching them at the MCG.
I was about to say I predicted them to be finishing 5th, so I was a little bit off. We will do a full recap of our likes and what we liked about the ladder and how we saw the season at the start of the year and where we've kind of finished up. But just to wrap it up, Adelaide, you had them at 13th. I had them at 9th. So I was closer. You're a little bit far away on that one. But I think it surprised everyone. I don't think anyone had them being top of the ladder. So I'm not going to take anything away from that.
A lot of respect for him.
Yeah, so we already spoke about the Port game and the that game there. There was another game on Saturday, which we will just pretty much skip over. Two teams again, which seasons are basically irrelevant. West Coast and Sydney. This would have been a great matchup in 2006, but we're long past that. We'll move on to our games on Sunday, which was probably shaping up to be one of the best games of one of the best rounds with the best games of the entire year, if not the last couple of years, because you had all 3 games really mattered in terms of this, the seeding, the getting into the 8. So the Giants getting the win over the Saints, a little bit closer than what it probably should have been if you're a Giants fan, because Saints actually were on a 4-game winning streak, but yeah, that ended there, and that made that the Giants at the time were actually in the top 4, but then other results obviously happened to push them out, and they're now sitting in 6th spot. So, I think pretty good season for the Giants. I predicted them to be in 8th. You had them in 14th, so I was pretty close there, only a couple spots away. You were way off on them.
I've been surprised by GWS. I won't lie. Like, their team list, back to front, has definitely got enough talent in it to be in the exact spot that they are. I just thought that they would have a lot more mental difficulties to overcome in terms of what happened to them last season. But you have to give credit where credit is due. They really have stepped up in a lot of big games in terms of deciding their fate within the 8, specifically against Gold Coast. That was a huge game. There was another game. I think they beat Geelong twice this season, if I'm not mistaken.
At least once.
So, yeah. So it's GWS have definitely stood up in the big moments. The question is, which will be riding on the lips of all the GWS fans, is are we able to take it that next step and get ourselves to another GF? I still don't think so. We'll talk about this in our next episode, but I think there's some clubs within the 8 that are like, damn, I've got a keen eye on them. If I'm a bookie, I'm definitely placing a bet on them. And then there's others where you're like 0% chance. So yeah, GWS, I think they're in that second category, not the first.
There was 2 other games on Sunday, which was the Bulldogs, who lost to Freo. A little bit of a heartbreaker, this one. Bulldogs, they've had an up and down season, really, really good percentage, but also losing against a lot of good teams. Freo just absolutely smashed them in that second quarter, running out to like a 40-point lead, which is crazy. They absolutely smashed them. And Doggies currently in 8th spot, but if Essendon do not beat the Suns, they will jump out of the 8 and just miss by a couple of points. So a little bit disappointing, but good on Freo getting a good win away. I don't think a lot of people gave them much chance in this game.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially after the massive disappointment at Optus Stadium against the Lions, like that was a real kick in the teeth for them.
Yeah.
Like if you're a Fremantle fan, like you're coming into that game, you're like, how good is this? An opportunity against the Premiership favourites, and then to just get punched in the gut so strongly. Coming into this game, it really would have had you on the edge of your seat. But to be able to go to Melbourne and put up a performance like this against what I have credited as one of the best teams in the comp. But the Bulldogs just once again have proved that they are one of those teams that stays in it, but they just don't get the job done when they need to. And as much as I want to praise the way they play football, at the end of the day, it all counts about results. And Luke Beveridge just hasn't been able to make the right decisions to get the best out of the players in the moments that matter most. And once again, the Doggies in their 100th year have just not got the job done, and they're going to miss final series, I think. And it's disappointing because I would have loved to have seen them there. But at the end of the day, the Dockers got the job done, and you have to give a lot of respect for that. And there's a part of me that's also kind of happy about that, because now we're going to have some Western Australian representation in finals, which I am always a big fan of.
Yeah, I think that we've been missing out on that a little bit in the last couple of years. It's obviously been very strong with Sydney, GWS, Queensland with Brisbane, Suns almost being there a couple of times. Obviously Port Adelaide, now Adelaide. So it does feel like we're due for a little bit of, West
and it's going to be at Perth as well. So
this will be an elimination final in Perth, which is a one-off. So it's pretty crazy. But yeah, that was a really, really good game. But we'll move on to the meat and potatoes, which was the Lions versus the Hawks. The Lions had a very, very, very wayward performance in terms of shots on goal in the front. They only had 8 points at quarter time, which was so frustrating. I was so annoyed. Came out a little bit stronger in the second quarter. Finally, Sam Day missing goals in front. It kind of gave me shades of Eric Hipwood missing in front. Literally, as soon as a couple of times, like Charlie Cameron took a mark in forward 50, I was like, he's not going to kick this. Like, he's just not. He just doesn't kick set shots. Josh Dunkley, I was like, he just doesn't kick set shots. Like, we're giving it. Yes, Logan Morris also missed one, but we're getting the ball to the guys who miss set shots really easily, like Sam Day, Charlie Cameron, Josh Dunkley. Like, they're not known for that. Like, it's a little bit frustrating that those are the guys that are getting their hands on the ball, but it is what it is. And eventually we kind of kicked ahead. And as you can see by the worm, we ended up getting on top of them. They came back a little bit, but it was around about, 3 points, I think, in the middle of the fourth quarter. So, yeah, somewhat close. But the Lions eventually kind of kicked away with some good goals by that burst with Cam Rayner, Charlie Cameron, Hugh McCluggage, kind of those kind of guys in that late third quarter really pushed us over the top. So, somewhat comfortable in the end, but man, can't be missing that many shots on goal.
You're 100% right. This was a great curtain raiser for finals football, I feel like.
Yeah.
The intensity of the crowd, the ferociousness of the players, and just the desire to make sure that they were always first to the contest from both teams was really exciting to watch. And I think Hawthorn deserve a lot of credit in the sense that they had a particular game plan in terms of trying to beat the Brisbane press, if that makes sense. Every time they kicked one of those multiple behinds, they were always looking to kick to the space and get into a 1v1 and then make those quick counterattacks and find Marbiol Chol and whatnot down forward. And it worked out really well for them. But then Chris Fagan, the master that he is, makes some tactical adjustments, cleans up the spillage, and Brisbane players do their job in the midfield and just were able to control the rest of the game. Even though on the scoreboard, I feel like it was close in the sense that Like if you would just look at the scoreboard, you think, oh, that was a close game. I think Brisbane were far the better team
Yes.
and proved why Hawthorn are going to finish towards the bottom of the eight and Brisbane are finishing towards the top end of the
Yeah.
eight. Because that sort of like clean hands, like the fact they've got Will Ashcroft just being able to just get such
Incredible.
clean
3
hands
votes,
and
Will
make the right
Ashcroft, for that
pass.
game.
Hugh McCluggage was absolutely phenomenal in this
Yep.
game.
2
I thought
votes.
Starcevich was amazing as well from defense.
Darcy Wilmot was amazing.
Yeah, mate, Wilmot, what an absolute gun.
He's
I
a
love that
gun.
guy. But Brisbane, again, they've had a pretty lukewarm performance at the Gabba this season, but they absolutely got the kettle boiling, and I was so impressed by how they played. And they, whilst it was frustrating in that first quarter because you're like, oh no, it's going to be one of those nights, they still were able to adopt that goldfish mentality, forget it, move on, keep moving forward, and get the job done.
Yeah.
And Chris Fagan looked absolutely bloody pumped on the bench at the end of the game, and he
Yeah.
deserves a good praise.
And he was kind of like smiling, but also like, "Come on, boys, you can't kick that many points." You know, he's
Yeah.
given like, you know, like, "Come on!" Like, yes, I'm joking, but seriously, you know, had that kind of vibe. And man, the players are just, yeah, they must love playing for him because they get around. Obviously, we didn't talk about Dane Zorko, 300 games, what a legend. Charlie Cameron,
Charlie
250
Cameron,
games.
oh mate, turn it up.
All that sort of stuff. Like, he kicked a couple goals, did pretty well there. You know, I thought our defense was amazing. Harris Andrews did really well. Lester, amazing. Doesn't get enough praise. Starcevich, really good. Yeah, all of those guys kind of, Jasper Fletcher, like all of those guys in the defense. I know they kicked, you know, a fair amount of goals. I just felt like we dominated them when it came to the ball being stuck in the forward 50. Their goals kind of came from turnovers, quick ball that wasn't really the defense's fault. It's kind of like the midfield turning it over and they kicked it, you know, and got some lucky kicks inside the forward 50. Chol, so overrated. I'm sorry, but you just, as a forward in
really?
today's
Wow,
game,
okay.
you've got to
Hot
do
take.
more than just kick goals. Like, it's just, I don't know, like, to me, yes, sure, forward's job, kick goals, but man, you got to do more than that. He's so overrated. Jack Ginnivan, what a grub. Can't stand that guy. You know, I feel like he creates fake noise around him. I know people probably give him a hard time at the games and stuff, but he's like, everyone hates me. I'm like, you're like a bit player. Like, you're a no one in terms of the AFL landscape. You just hype yourself up. You know, he's not really that relevant. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. But Hawthorn are just like one of those teams that you just kind of, no one really likes. What no one else besides Hawks fans likes. They've become that team, which is of their own doing, you know. Unless you're actually good, you can't really back it up. Whereas I think the Lions could be that team. Like Kai Lohman, Will Ashcroft, they could be those cocky guys that the Hawks are, but they don't. They're not. They're calm. They're collected. Maybe Kai's a little bit animated sometimes, but, you know, those Ashcroft boys are just calm, collected. They do their job. They don't make fuss, and they just get the job done, unlike some of the Hawks guys. They just, you know, make it all about themselves, all that sort of stuff. So, and there was some biff in this game too, which I thought it would spill over a bit more than it actually did. Speaking on one goal, which was really annoying, at halftime, when you're watching at home, he kicked that ball after the siren went, right?
They analyzed it at halftime, and without going frame by frame, I think he does kick it just before.
But it bounced.
Yeah, which is fine. That's allowed.
No, it's not. As soon as the ball bounces after the siren, it's invalid.
I'm not sure about that. I think it's allowed to bounce.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Either way.
Anyway, it didn't end up
The
mattering.
ruling is, apparently, and I didn't know this, is that the umpire has to be able to hear the siren and make the end of quarter signal for it to not count. So because it happened basically at the same time, the kick, like, unless it goes to the arc, it would have counted anyway because the umpire hadn't called quarter time.
Anyway,
So it was a dodgy moment, that's for sure. And thankfully it didn't come back to bite us in the bum.
that was kind of annoying, but is what it is. Anyway, we'll move past that one because now the Lions have to focus on Geelong, and the Hawks don't really know who they're playing yet in their first round. So that leaves us with a ladder that looks like the Crows, Geelong, Brisbane, Collingwood, GWS. Currently, it's Freo, Hawks, and Western Bulldogs, but we've got Gold Coast sitting there lurking on the same amount of points as the Western Bulldogs, and if they do win by somewhat of a healthy margin, they will jump ahead of the Hawks up to 7th. So what kind of stands out to you about that ladder?
Oh, mate. Well, first, you got to give credit to the Adelaide Crows. They've done such a good job in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that not only consistency, but just like the fact that they've actually been able to put in really good performances. I think the decision to play a lot of key tools in their team has worked wonders for them. That's a tactic that not everyone in the AFL implements, and it's certainly brought a lot of attention to them and the way they've done that. So, when things work out in your favor, you look like a genius. And when it doesn't, you look like an idiot and everyone casts judgment upon you. But Matthew Nicks, he's, made the decision. He's got the best out of the players. And, despite some recent controversy,
Mm-hmm.
they deserve to be where they are.
Yeah.
Geelong, I think, again, I've said what I think about Geelong. They're just so bloody good and consistent. Like, look at them. Last 5 wins, all W's. So good. Brisbane, I think, again, they're probably right where they belong.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last couple of seasons, when they have been one of the best in the competition, even though they play the best footy in the comp, they've never finished first. So that's just classic Brisbane. Collingwood, they're old, they're experienced. I think they'll make it to a semi or a prelim, but I don't expect them to go all the way. And then 5th to 8th, or I guess 5th to 9th, regardless if it's doggies or Suns, I wouldn't be putting my money on any of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's fast forward to the last weekend in September. Who do you see in the grand final right now?
Do you want me to go with my head or with my heart?
Give me 2 answers then. Head and heart.
My heart is desperate for a Brisbane Adelaide final. Stuff it up to the Victorians once again,
Yeah.
like last year. And I think Brisbane at the MCG will perform better than Adelaide at the MCG.
Fair.
So I think it'd be a really even, exciting contest, and that's what I want to see. In terms of who I think we will see, I think it's more likely we're going to see. I think it's more likely we see Adelaide and Geelong on the final day.
Yeah.
Because as much as I think Brisbane will win against Geelong at the MCG, there's a part of me that thinks Brisbane will I think they're gonna fall at a hurdle, and I'm not sure if it's going to be immediately or at a home prelim, but it pains me to say that because again I'm thinking with my head here, but. I personally think Geelong and Adelaide have been the 2 best teams in the competition this season, and I think they deserve to be there on the final day, even though I think and believe Brisbane played the best brand of football when they're actually performing. So it's a tough one. What do you think? Who do you think is going to be on the final day come September?
I'd love to see like Freo get there, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's like a feel-good story, especially with Nat Fyfe leaving. But I think it'll probably be in like the Brisbane Geelong, Brisbane Adelaide type of vibe. That's just my feeling.
Well, this is what I'm going to be looking forward to in our next episode. Is once the 8 is decided, we can sort of do like a prediction tree and figure out who we think is going to go all the way. So something to look forward to in the next episode. But it's just going to be so tough, this final series. Like even the elimination finals, like even though I don't think those teams are to the same level as the top 4, like they're going to be ferocious encounters. And Freo playing in Perth is going to be massive for that crowd. GWS playing in Sydney is going to be massive for them. And whether it's Hawks or Doggies or whoever, all the Suns, it'd be awesome if the Suns get in, but they won't have a home final. So they're going to have to travel. Again, that's another big test for them. Look, from a neutral's perspective, super intriguing. From a Lions perspective, I'm optimistic, but my head says that we won't make it all the way this year.
Yeah, I think as you can see, we already know all the venues and probably the days, but who's going to be playing in the Saturday for the elimination finals? We shall see. But very exciting. Brisbane going to Geelong MCG. Only one game in Victoria for this whole first round of the finals, which is, let's go. Let's go. And then perhaps the prelim, could be an Adelaide host and Brisbane host. Could be, all that sort of stuff is to be determined. It's been a crazy round, crazy season. Thank you so much, Caleb, for joining me, and we shall see everyone in the next episode where we will break down our ladders and the actual final results of the 8 pending this Gold Coast game. So thank you again, Cyclone Alfred, for ruining everyone's AFL season. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Caleb. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Harry.